Choose your seat, bus ride.
We're already talking about buses here with interim CEO of TransLink, Doug Allen. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
You were just saying, you just took the bus here. Took you how long?
Less than 10 minutes. I left at 6:44. I arrived well before 7. It was good.
Interesting times specifically during the 2010 Olympics here in Vancouver, when people were so concerned with how are we going to get around town, how are we going to handle the traffic, the road closures or whatever. Many of us found how fantastic the system can be when it runs well. You've arrived on the scene as interim CEO of TransLink at a time where people are talking about where it fails. What is your priority to fix what's ailing TransLink now?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. First of all, I've been asked to come in and lead the organization, and that's exactly what I'm doing. And I have to make sure that we're on the right priorities and we're accountable for those. I have to make sure that we're extracting efficiencies. I have to make sure that we're talking to customers, we're talking to media, we're accessible, all of that. But the system, in terms of how it matches with our peers around the world, is pretty good. And it doesn't matter whether we're talking about SkyTrain, rapid transit, buses, it's pretty good.
When it runs, it is pretty good. When it's not running, which are hours and hours each day, it fails many people who could really use the transit system. Are we any closer to getting a system that runs later, earlier, or is it a pie in the sky thing to try and believe we'll have 24-hour?
Well, let's just look at reliability, because that's what you're talking about. We want a highly reliable system, and we have one. But as you say, when it's not reliable, we have to make changes to make sure in the future that it is. On SkyTrain alone, reliability runs at over 95%. With respect to the independent review that was done last fall, there were 20 recommendations out of there. We're acting and moving on all of those. Just like you, everybody wants a reliable system, and our track record is pretty good. Can we do better? Yes.
I get that about reliability, but one of the biggest frustrations, I'm going to say, for people who can't afford to drive a car, can't afford to take a cab, rely on public transit, but their job starts before the buses run. Are we ever going to get, or can we see the light at the end of the tunnel for transit, starting earlier in the morning, running later at night? Bars close at 4 o'clock in the morning now. You can't get a SkyTrain or a bus at that time.
Well, there's two considerations. One is some systems have to be maintained on a daily basis. So we need a few hours every night, in fact, to do maintenance. That's for a whole bunch of reasons, including safety.
Should we look towards perhaps getting that on the weekends, at special holidays? You know,
well,
is there a plan in place, Doug, at all that those things might change for us here?
Well, let's look at one of the key areas, and I'll go back to the bus business, because it's the backbone of our of the transit system. We've got a commitment now in 47 growth corridors to run 15 hours a day at 15-minute intervals, 7 days a week. Can we do more of that? Of course.
We as a general public, some of us would say, before we go spending hundreds of millions of dollars on extending public transit to a new area, could we not get to a place where we have 24-hour transit with the current system that we have?
I don't think that's realistic at the moment. I think two things have to happen. We have to have better service, more service in the core areas we're in now, but the growth in the Lower Mainland is huge, not just in Vancouver and Richmond and Burnaby, but look at Surrey. I think there's something like 1,200 new additions to the population of Surrey every month. So they need more, and clearly a focus is going to have to be on Surrey and the surrounding areas.
All right, let's switch gears to the Compass card. Tell us when.
Well, this is day 9 for me on the job.
Oh, no throwing you under the bus.
If you don't count weekends. So
welcome.
Yes. So one of the first things I've had to do is understand where we are on the Compass card and Farragate project, and I'm in that process. I've had several sessions already. I'll have several more in the coming days. We've got the head of Cubic, the service supplier, from the cubic operation in San Diego is here Friday. I think I'll know a lot more Friday, but quite rightly, people want to know where we're going with this project. We want to finish it as quickly as we can and successfully.
Right, so you're 9 days into the job. It's hard to give a hard date, but Friday is a good starting point for the fact-finding for you.
It's really already started, but I have to be much wiser as to exactly where we are and what we can do. But people want this thing finished, and they want it done successfully, and we're going to do that. You're
going to find out what the people want when this referendum, my plebiscite, takes place, the yes or no to that 0.5% sales tax addition. Want your thoughts on that and the idea that after 9 days of coming into TransLink and sort of looking at it as an overview, the trust issue that seems to be existing with the public looking at TransLink as a company and saying our money's already being misspent. What would you say to that?
Well, I'll talk about the two items. The plebiscite, as you know, that's the responsibility of the Mayor's Council and our Board of Directors. But it's obvious to me, with the kind of growth we've got in the region, that we have to have substantially more transit. It's that simple. So underneath your comment is how am I voting? I'm voting yes. We need it.
Yes.
And so that's the first part. On the trust issue, as I mentioned, we're doing a lot of things well in my view, but we can do a lot of things better. And there's two things that are very important to, I think, gain trust. One is a lot more engagement with our customers. We have to talk a lot more with our customers on the system as we have it, on the changes that we're making. I think we've got a lot of work to do there. And the media. I think the media expects and deserves access, and we need to provide it. We've got a very good head of communications. She's relatively new. Her name is Colleen Brennan, and she's driving that agenda. But all of us, including me, have to, in fact, be accessible to the media.
And here you are, being accessible to the media, and we appreciate you coming on Breakfast Television. We'll look forward to hearing from you, maybe not on Friday, but certainly by early next week about that Compass card where you're getting the information.
My pleasure.